It's effortless to hurt somebody who does not take kindly to any form of criticism, even constructive feedback, who seeks to be validated at each and every turn, who believes that everything should be about them, who is entitled to have everything their own way. These kinds of people are some of the most challenging people you could ever come across. There is no denying that dealing with narcissists can be incredibly difficult and an extremely draining experience. Their manipulation, their self-absorbed behaviour often leads to a wide range of harmful tactics that they use to control and to punish those around them. And it's effortless to cause a narcissistic injury. And when you cause a narcissistic injury, as a narcissist lacks the empathy to care about you, they seek to punish you, to feel better about themselves. Understanding these is essential to protect our emotional and mental health and well-being, and recognise that it's not something we did as such, it's who they are as a person. They're unwilling to recognise and deal with their own insecurities. Instead, they need to punish us. And you cannot help those who are not willing to take responsibility for themselves and find healthier coping strategies. You can only help those who are willing to take responsibility and willing to find new methods. With a narcissistic person, when you've hurt them in some way, they will fall silent on you. Now, we can all potentially have our feelings hurt, not particularly know what to say, and fall silent. Usually though, somebody has lied to you, deceived you, betrayed your trust, hurt you in some of the most horrific ways. With a narcissist, you might just not thank them in the right way. And instead of having that open communication and being vulnerable, because they don't want to be exposed and vulnerable, they just shut down all the communication on you. They might have asked you to do something that's against your values and beliefs, so you said no and they take offence. So they abruptly cut off all communication. They start ignoring you. Narcissistic people use this to gain that control over you. This passive aggressive behaviour leaves victims feeling isolated, unimportant, and desperate for that reconnection with the very person who is hurting them. Gaslighting, by distorting reality, by denying their own actions, by twisting words, by guilt tripping, aiming to make the victim question their own perception of events, their own values, their own beliefs, their own boundaries, their own feelings, and their own sanity. This cunning strategy serves to undermine the victim's confidence, leaving them feeling confused and doubted and emotionally vulnerable to the narcissist's armour of attacks. Public humiliation, derogatory comments, purposefully embarrassing their victims, smear campaigns, damaging reputations, and damaging other people's self-esteem, ruining people's careers, ruining people's family units. They will go all out for public shaming, public humiliation. A narcissist gains a sense of power and control through this, while they isolate their victim from all forms of support. Emotional manipulation, using fear, obligation, and guilt to coercively control people into living life on their terms. A narcissist will play the victim to gain control over the situation, leaving the victim feeling trapped. Triangulation, bringing a third person into the topic of conversation to cause tension, to create conflict, even to create competition between people by comparing victims against others. Narcissistic people aim to provoke feelings of jealousy and envy and bitterness and resentment and insecurity and inadequacy, to punish their victim by eroding their victim's self-esteem, their victim's self-worth. Isolating people, isolating their victims, limiting their victims' time spent with friends and family and outside sources who could potentially enlighten the victim as to the narcissist's true character. They can overtly do this in obvious ways. They can just threaten and intimidate, or they can covertly do this by guilt tripping. Oh, if they're more important to you than I am. And once their victim is isolated, you then end up feeling alone. You've got no one to go for support and you feel trapped. And financial abuse, controlling their victims' access to financial resources. Again, narcissists gain power and control with this, trapping their victims so that their victim feels like there is no escape. There's lots of different ways a narcissistic person will punish you, and it's nothing to do with who you are as a person and everything to do with who they are as a person, their sense of entitlement, their exploitative behaviour, their lack of empathy, their need, their drive for that control and dominance over other people to protect their fragile egos.